Okay, all right. Welcome. Welcome to Thursdays with Terry. Coach Steiner, as usual, great to see you. I'm Alex. Frank Baumgartner is here with us, and Frank, as every week, we'll be taking the questions. Please, if you have anything to ask, just put it in the chat bar down below or put it in the question and answer bar. Frank knows how to get to both of them. Terry and I, maybe not so much, but Frank knows how to get to both of them. Tonight's guest, we're very, very, very fortunate. Tonight's guest is a two-time Olympian, a two-time NCAA champion. He's a Hodge Award winner. He's a silver medalist in the world. I mean, you got to go on and on and on. We got his information to him late to sign in, so it's not his fault. We'll blame it on Terry. No, and that's Kerry McCoy. We are extremely excited to have Kerry on, so we'll start it in a second. He'll be on soon. Before I get started, I would like to remind everybody that we need to thank our sponsor, Team Global Energy in Ambit Energy. They make this whole thing possible. Later in the program, Coach Steiner will talk about how Ambit Energy has helped a lot of our wrestling programs and how it actually can help fund gold medals for our national team. And so we'll talk about that later. So, gentlemen, how you folks doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Frank? Good, yeah, busy working at home.
Yeah,
a lot of honey-do lists.
Yeah, this COVID thing is tougher in more ways than you think, right?
I need to go back to work.
Right. How many times did you paint the garage today?
Too many.
Oh, there he is.
Did you ever get your outhouse done?
Oh yeah, man. It's awesome. It's awesome. I have a outhouse with running water next to the toilet. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. So
that's not fair.
No,
that's not fair. You're cheating the system.
No, it's and it's all gravity fed. I'm off the grid. I'm off the grid up there, and I rigged it out so I have water coming in from what we water the house with. And
there's the man.
There he is. My man, Kerry McCoy. I call him the classiest guy in wrestling, but oh, then you look.
Am I upside down?
Yes, you are.
Oh, what happened?
We haven't tried to.
Just trying to keep you guys on your toes.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Good. So, Kerry, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Sorry for the delay.
No problem. No problem. So, we've had a lot of interesting conversation. We've gone through mental training, through self-talk, through you know what the national team is doing during this time. But Kerry, let's talk about your move. You just got a brand new job.
Yeah. So literally, as we speak, the movers are finishing up. They unloaded today, and so it's more official. It's officially official, I guess I could say. But it is. It's really exciting. Got the opportunity to move back to Palo Alto and take over the California Regional Olympic Training Center as the executive director and head coach. So it's a small homecoming. We spent 3 years out here and then coming back, so we know the area a little bit. But it's a new beginning, a new opportunity in a different field that's connected to the sport that I love so much. So we're really blessed, really fortunate to have this opportunity.
That's fantastic. What is it going to entail?
So the the nicest thing about the executive director position is it gives me some administrative opportunities where I can, it's not just, now obviously we know head coaches are very focused on the administrative responsibilities, but, being the director of the club, really takes it to a higher level of being able to, not just run the X's and O's, but, really strategic planning, structure, organizational, fundraising, a lot of things that you do as a head coach, but on a higher level, because you also have the autonomy to run the program, but then also, having that executive director position is the opportunity to, need to run the things, but also be kind of boots on the ground. So you're not just from the top down in. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Fantastic. Coach Steiner, how you doing this week? Have a good week?
You know what? It's been a slow week from the wrestling side of things. We are getting geared up. Next week we start practices here on
27th?
On the 27th. Our athletes that are based and live here year round. So it's the first time we'll be with them on the mat since the middle of March. So I'm excited to finally have that opportunity again to get back on the mat and get back to what we do best, I guess, what we want to be doing, and the mat training and so we're excited about that. There's a lot of question with the schedule and everything. I mean, I sent this just the other day, but we know that in August, UWW, United World Wrestling, will come back and make decisions on the Junior Worlds, the U23 Worlds, the Senior Worlds that they've kind of put in place. But we know that there's so much uncertainty right now. So but they are going to make a final decision on that, which will really help us kind of look at what are we really training for this fall and early winter. So excited, but to give the athletes, to get them back together again is going to be special.
Sure. It's been a while, and I know that the USOC has a lot of rules and regulations, and I'd like to get into that, Terry. But Kerry, what are your plans for starting up? Do you know? I mean, are you under set rules from where are you guys going to follow? What path? I guess. I
get you, and it's just like that. It's very similar. I mean, there's so much uncertainty that you don't really know what is next, what opportunities are. So we're planning. Our age group guys, the juniors and the U23 guys are focusing on the trials that are going to be in September, and then just saw the announcement today about the U.S. Open, going to Iowa. So now I have another little bit of target, and the national teams talked about a couple of international opportunities in the end of the fall, winter, and then going into, I think the Bill Farrell is supposed to be in January. So kind of looking at those things and planning tentatively what the schedule is going to look like, but ultimately just planning our preparation, our training, so that we have the opportunity to be prepared when it's time to really get after it.
Right.
So just to update you a little bit on the junior and U23 trials, now they're moved to October 23rd and to the 25th. And so again, we're still thinking in Ohio, but they moved the date back because it was just too soon to have people training for so long, and still a lot of people are just starting back up or not even started back up yet. So the decision was made to move those trials to late October.
Good thing you're on the call, Terry, because you got that inside scoop. So now I can make big adjustments.
Yeah, the plan you made, now you can go back to work at it.
Hey, exactly. That's the way it is, right?
I planned a lot.
God left telling you plans.
I planned a lot this summer, just that every plan falls through and we start back over again. So
that's what I said, right?
Yeah. So Terry, I know that. So Kerry, we have a lot of parents, coaches, high school, and so Terry, I know that they have put some stipulations on you guys as far as number of training partners, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Go over that quickly, because you know. So take the 20 kids we have working out right now here in our little area. They have no concept of what is being required of our national team. Could you just go through that for us?
Well, and the first thing is this week everyone had to get a COVID test, and they have to, test negative. If they have to stay in the area. If anyone leaves, really, I think it's the state of Colorado, but it might even be El Paso County. If we leave the area, then you have to do a COVID test again, so you're kind of quarantined in this location. Just to keep everyone safe. So that has to happen first, and then we'll go in when we get to practice. We'll do temperature checks and fill out just a short form every time we enter the room or the practice facility, and we have stipulations that we have to stay in a group of people. So if now our numbers aren't so big, we probably have about 10 to 12 people, but if all of a sudden WCAP, which we're assuming going to join us relatively soon, but once they join us, then we probably have to split into groups because we can't have more than 25 people, and that includes coaches, support staff, and our medical and everything like that. So if we get past 25, then we have to split it into groups. But the partners, for the first 2 weeks, they'll have to stay with one partner the whole time for the first 2 weeks, and then after that, then they'll probably let us go into like a group of 6 or something like that, where we'll kind of stay in pods around the room, and there won't be any mixing like that, and so we can better trace, I guess, if someone gets sick, we don't have to take everyone out, and stop everyone's training. We can stop a smaller number of people. So we're going to start with each person has to wrestle with one partner, and then try that for 2 weeks, see how things are going, and then the athletes have to sign a code of conduct, and not just the athletes, the coaches and everyone have to sign a code of conduct that basically they're living their life right now to get on the wrestling mat, and they're not going to be out and about. They're not going to be in large parties. They're not going to be, traveling around and just live a normal life. You're going to kind of live almost a quarantine-like life, and stay, just stay close and try to social distance as much as you can, and to keep everyone else safe within that room. So the good thing is we're back on the mat. The bad thing is there's some stipulations to it, but that's the world we live in right now, right? And so we have to make the decision if we want to do that, and the athletes have to make that decision, and the coaches as well too. If you don't want to do this, then you're not going to be allowed in. If you're not going to sign that code of conduct, you're not going to be allowed in to the practice room, and we got to be serious about it. But I think everyone is ready to get back to business, and so I think everyone's ready to sign whatever they need to sign and live how they need to live right now.
Whole different level of discipline and dedication here, huh?
Yeah. And this is not at the Olympic Training Center, right? They've already told us that we probably will not have a national team training camp at the Olympic Training Center this year. It's a different reality for us. So everything is going to change. I have a feeling our camps will be at where we can have more mat space and more people involved. I think we'll be in hotels with large banquet halls and things like that, and where we can bring people in and house them, because we can't house them at the training center like we usually do. So it's a different reality for us, for sure.
So Kerry, as an RTC, do you fall under those guidelines? Do you have your own structure? Where do you go for your guidance? or do you have to make it on your own?
Well, you get in trouble if you make it on your own, right? So we look at the guidelines that USA Wrestling and the USOPC puts out, and then obviously our local and state ordinances are really the governing factor. And and as we all know, right, those things could change on an hourly, let alone daily basis. So so right now there's some individual training. People are doing stuff here and there, but once we get our green light to go and operate as like Terry said, with a little more structure and a little more substance, I guess, then we'll just make sure we take a combination. And you kind of go to lowest common denominator, right? When you're looking at safety and protocols, you want to make sure that you have the ability to do the right things and keep your athletes safe. And so you don't want to sacrifice safety for competitive opportunities, but at the same time, you don't want to just sit around and do nothing. So it's really a combination of talking with USA Wrestling, talking and reviewing the USOPC standards, local and state authorities, and really, obviously, the big thing is with your athletes, right? So you have to make sure your athletes are comfortable with what they're expected and what they have to do. But even if they are, still you have to make sure, like Terry said, I mean, if the athletes aren't willing to do what it takes to kind of be locked in and honed in on what they need to do to keep themselves safe and prepared to be at a high level, then that's something that we have to make sure we spend time to get that sorted out. So it's a combination of things, but like Terry said, it's just great to have the opportunity to be wrestling again, and we'll do whatever we have to do to give ourselves a chance to be successful.
Yeah, terrific. So I'd like to talk about coaching and the stages. You've both been assistant coaches. You've both coached under some tremendous coaches. You wrestled under tremendous coaches. Just their influence, just their, let's talk about that and the things that you've learned from them and now have carried over into in your professional career.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in first. And the coaches, and it sounds cliche, right? But every coach that I've had, they really been a part of my family. Kind of a pseudo dad. So that was something important, and it was really just that respect factor. But knowing that they honestly and truly gave everything they had to make sure that I had the opportunities and resources necessary to be, the best that I could be. Starting from high school. I mean, my high school coach, Mike Lacozzi, I mean, he would do whatever, right? He would load us in his car and drive us 6-7 hours to competitions. If somebody needed a place to stay, if somebody needed a place to work out, I mean, he'd come at any time to open up the gym, just really doing that and taking care of us, but not just in an athletic sense, but making sure he was a mentor and taught us about life and taught us about the decision we made and guide us to get to college and, make the right choices in the classroom so we have the best opportunities. So he really laid the foundation, and all of my coaches coming up, the junior high coaches all the way through high school. And then, in college, John Fritz and Hashiro Ishii were my college coaches, but Rich Lorenzo started the recruiting process. He was the head coach when I was a senior. And, those three guys combined, I owe so much to, I can't even put words into how much they mean to me and, helping me along the way. Again, not just wrestling, but in life in general. And I think that's really the true measure of a coach. It's not just how successful your athletes are with wins and losses, but, what are they doing 10, 15 years down the road, whether, they're good fathers, good husbands, good parents, good teammates, good, all those things. And that's why I'm really fortunate that my coaches along the way from high school all the way up to the international level, I've always been those type of people that put a strong foundation on me so I can be a better member of society.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to spend some time with Coach Fritz. February we had a.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because Jeff Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
We inducted him into the Western New York All Sports Hall of Fame, and Coach Fritz came out as a representative of Penn State, and I know he's a pretty terrific guy. That guy is. I mean, he's.
Oh yeah. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Sure, huh? Yeah, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many coaches that have had a big influence on not just me as a wrestler, but me as a coach, as a human being. Right? Like Kerry said, I mean, the people that raised me through this sport were really, I could say, all of them are like father figures. They've all meant so much to me and developed every bit of me. And now, especially, now my dad has passed away, so those are the people that you go back to. Those are the people you rely on. Those are the people that are still in my life as a parent, really, and as a mentor to this day. Whether it's Coach Gable, the one that everyone knows is Coach Gable, but there's Mark Johnson that was an assistant under Coach Gable. There was Jim Zaleski. There was Barry Davis, who I coached at Wisconsin. Unfortunately, Joe Wells, who I coached with at Oregon State. It was really my first coaching job leaving Iowa. I was only with Joe for 2 years at Oregon State, from 94 to 96. But I learned so much from that gentleman. I mean, it was the best move I ever made as a young coach to leave a place that where all my success was and all my um, ties were, and all of a sudden I was out in Oregon. I didn't know anyone, but I knew Joe Wells, and he taught me coaching. I knew wrestling. I could show technique and this and that, but how do you put everything together? How do you start looking at recruiting? How do you start looking at fundraising and dealing with administration and those kind of things? How do you deal with athletes? Whether they're good athletes or troubled athletes. How do you deal with the parents and then the high school coaches that come along with those athletes? I mean, there was so much I learned from Joe Wells that to really speak of what a difference he made in my career as it moved forward, and so they are that's what I hope you hope to be. You hope you can be that for the people that come into you. You hope that you're not only teaching them how to win a medal, you hope you're teaching them whether it's lifelong skills that they can carry into their career or that they carry in for the rest of their lives. And that's, I think that is what this is about, right? And I remember when and we've talked about this before when Coach Cable was on, but when I left Iowa to go to Oregon State, Coach Cable was concerned why I was leaving, and so we talked through it and stuff, and then he said, "Don't ever think it's going to be hard to coach against Iowa." And I said, well, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "Because it's all about the relationships. It's all about the people across from you and in front of you, and that's all that matters." And really, that's how I've tried to be to the female athletes within the women's program. Right? It doesn't matter what people are saying or doing. Let's just focus on what we need to do to get you to the next step that you want to be at. And it's just helped so much to keep my focus, because there's a lot of times people aren't agreeing with you or people aren't or doing the other thing, but it's about the people in front of you, and it was some good advice. And just you never know when you're going to have those conversations between a coach and an athlete. You just never know in those conversations where you're going to hear something that you're going to take on for the rest of your lives. And that was one of them. It was just, it was a conversation between me and Coach Gable about, just me leaving Iowa and moving on in my coaching career and in my wrestling career for that matter as well, because I was still training at the time. But during that, 45-minute, hour-long conversation, there were things that I'll never forget. It wasn't, you just never know when those conversations happen.
Yeah, that's great stuff, guys. And I like talking about this because we do have coaches on, and I know the next time we have Coach Gable come on, we're going to talk about the characteristics of a great coach in his eyes. When he sees a coach, what makes that coach in his eyes a great coach? The characteristics of that. Because, all of us that are coaching or have coached for no matter how many years, we all should be striving to be better And for those reasons right there, I mean, you just said it. You're making lasting impressions. I mean, for a lifetime. And some good, some not so good, but they're still
They're
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something to mention too, because everybody's different, right? And so learning what from your coaches, they can teach you how to be a good coach and the things to do. But it's also important to recognize sometimes you learn from them things what not to do, right? There are
Absolutely.
some things I'm sure that that my coaches, because of their style and their position, their focus, they had a different perspective than what I would do when I was a head coach. So that's an important thing too to remember, and that's like one of those things in life in general. It's important to recognize the opportunities that you say yes to and that you have, but it's also important to recognize the opportunities that you say no to, and things that you don't commit to, because that's just as important, especially when you're being able to say no, whether it's just answering a question or picking a thing to do, right? Being able to say no is an important thing. So learning both the things to do and the things not to do is a huge thing that you get from coaches and coaching in general. I was telling somebody the other day, like I've been out and I've watched some high school wrestling. I'd see a high school kid do a technique and I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. Let me check it out and let me see what goes with it. And a lot of people wouldn't even think about trying to learn from somebody that's younger than them or less experienced than them or not even in that capacity. So learning what to do and learning what not to do is a big part of what you learn from your coaches, but then also to help to build your coaching philosophy.
Absolutely. Great point. So as we talk about that, we tried to touch base on this and we ran out of time with, I can't even remember who it was. Maybe Frank, you can remember. But as a past college coach, what are you looking at for athletes? What should they be, and parents, what should they be focusing on as they move into the next step, the next stages? Well, you guys both have had the experience. What are you looking at? What should they be focusing on so they can wrestle at the next level, whether it be D1, D2, whatever, just being the next level athlete?
Yeah, I think the easy answer is is character, right? I think that's really the most important thing that is going to determine your level of success no matter what you do. And whatever your character is. So obviously, I always look for people with high character, and as kids mature, that character can change. You might have someone that may not be as strong in their character as when you first get them, and then over the opportunity to pour into them as a coach and having other leaders and other members of your program pour into them, that character could shift a little bit. And the same thing where you have somebody that may be high character when they come out, and then they get the wrong influences and they might shift. So character is the first thing, but I think really the next thing that's most important that you can really work on actively is coachability, right? I think that's such a big thing, because if you see and I do it all the time when I do camps and clinics, let alone running programs, but you go in and you show a technique, and there's always a certain segment of the population of the kids in the camp or the clinic that said, oh, well, I don't do it that way, or my coach said to do it this way. And which, I can respect that. But the whole thing is I tell them, I said, when you come to a clinic, you're trying to learn something. So if you just do everything that you already done, why are you coming to a clinic? So the same thing, if you get a high school athlete that's getting ready for college and they're not open to learning and adjusting, maybe obviously you don't want to necessarily change. If someone's been successful, you don't want to change what their foundation is. But being able to be open to learning and open to adjusting, and just taking the lead or taking the advice from your coaches and the people that are around, I think that's really the biggest thing for success at the next level, no matter what that level is, because, obviously what you do, what you've done has got you to a good place, but you have to be ready to kind of take it to the next level, and being coachable is going to be the best way to get there.
Great points.
No, I agree with what Kerry said. I mean, character and coachability are huge, right? And I guess just to add to that is, you got to be willing to go through some adversity and being resilient, right? Because that comes out with character. I think if you have a character, that's going to come out. Right? And you know, wrestling's going to provide you with plenty of obstacles and plenty of adversity. Right? How are you going to go? How are you going to make it through there? How are you going to go through? How are you going to handle, you know, those small situations that maybe don't seem that big, but how are you going to handle those defeats? You know, how are you going to carry yourself? How are you going to move forward? How are you going to respond to that? Those things are all huge in your development process, right? Because it's not going to be a smooth road. I can, you know, if someone's getting into really any sport, probably I know wrestling well, but probably any sport. I mean, if you're getting into it looking for an easy road, that's not what sport is. I just don't, and I don't think that's why we value sport how we do. I believe we value sport because of what it teaches, because of we learn how to deal with adversity. We learn how to, you know, have resiliency. We learn to be okay with, you know, having things not go right and moving forward, right? And I think that those are the values. That's why we want our kids in sports. That's why we put them in those situations, so it makes them stronger, better, more resilient human beings for when life comes, when the bigger issues will arise, right? We think when we're in college, you know, we think we're adults, right? And we think that losing matches.
I haven't made it yet. Okay.
But we think losing a wrestling match is a really hard thing, and I'm not saying it's not. But when you really look at the scope of life, losing a wrestling match is not the biggest thing you're ever going to face, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot tougher things than that. But the things you can learn from those situations are life changing, right? And can, move you in a direction, hopefully for the better.
Right. So I just saw there's a question right here, just right on that. Sorry, Frank, didn't mean to jump on your toes here. Hey,
We're teaching him well, people. He can do the tech stuff now.
what is it? In your guys' opinion, what is the most important thing mentally to develop in high school and transitioning from high school to college? Question from Elias Romero.
I can tell you from experience, I lost 17 matches my freshman year, and you know, being able to bounce back is something that, you know, when you I guess, you know, if you capture it all, don't let your highs get too high and your lows get too low. But really being able to bounce back, coming back and taking third, especially, you know, when you talk about recruiting, you know, and making that next step. I mean, college coaches, obviously you look at the four-time state champ, the undefeated, the top ranked guys, but they also look at those wrestlers that come back and take third, right? You know, you get beat in the semis, you got to win that next match in the conci semis and take third, or you lose first round, you fight your way all the way back 6 or 7 matches to get third. So, you know, that bounce back, I think, is a huge thing that you can work on that skill. I mean, if you're in a practice room and, you know, if you're the best wrestler in your room, you know, to go out and seek somebody that can put it on you a little bit and you know, get used to losing, get used to not being successful. You know, I've heard, and, you know, we had Adeline Gray came into our wrestling room one time and she talked about how, you know, getting ready for 2016, she had an area that, you know, she wasn't too comfortable with, and she really was reluctant to spend time there. And then she got to the Olympics and it got exposed. So she said, you know, she had to make that adjustment to work in the areas that she wasn't comfortable working at and not being as successful as she normally was, so she can get better. So really finding those areas that are going to help you be resilient, like Coach Steiner said, and be able to bounce back. So I think that's really a big thing that you can do, and challenge yourself every day to make sure you have that experience.
No, that's awesome. Terry, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I just think that, you know, when you're moving from high school to college, I think it's just being ready for. I think you know, being ready to bounce back from a loss, but also to be ready for close matches, right? And a lot of times in high school, you're beating people like 15-0 or 12-1, like that, and all of a sudden every match you have is 3-2 or 5-4 if you're lucky. You could be on the wrong end of things and get blown out too, which happened to me a lot too. But I think that it's just a constant. I remember you just knew, like, being in that Iowa room, not only was competition tough, but every day was tough. Every day was like competition. And being ready and being prepared, you had to prepare mentally for every single workout you went into. And I think that, but again, looking back on that, the things I gained from that kind of constant, if you call it pressure, if you will, but the constant pressure, I guess, was really, I'm so blessed to be able to be in that opportunity and to have that opportunity, because it really did shape me as more than just a wrestler, but a human being and how to handle those situations. So.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to kind of take over away from Alex for just a second, since he took my question responsibility. But so Kerry, the other night when we were talking just about where this webinar might lead, one of the things that we brought up was the idea of adversity and how you've had a lot of adversity through your wrestling career and your wrestling journey, and just how you've responded to those situations, and obviously the class that you've done it. So I want to just throw some topics up to you and just see where you take it. So one of the things, obviously, that's big right now is Stanford. And we probably don't have a lot of information about, boosters done this, or, this is how we're going to save the program or anything like that. But, that's a big bombshell that was dropped on you. So where do you even start to process this situation? How do you go about the situation? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I appreciate it. And I think that just, the overall perspective of dealing with adversity is just like Coach Steiner said, like, you have to be ready to do that in sport in general, in life in general, but especially in wrestling. And, one of the things that is most important, if not the most important thing for me, is my faith. And, I believe God has a plan for us all. And, he's put me in a position multiple times where I've had success. I've had not success. I've won, I've lost. So, and I know that every situation that I've been in, he's brought me through. So that's really, for me, the idea is just staying faithful and trusting in God's plan. And then obviously with that, leading to the steps you need to take to make it better. Right. So in a situation with, what's going on at Stanford, I mean, there's a lot of successful people, smart people, motivated people that are together, and they want to make a difference. In a wrestling match, you make an adjustment during the match with the program. You lean on your teammates, you lean on your coaches. So, I think what it ultimately comes down to is building on that individual faith and that perspective that way, and then having a community around you that's going to be supportive. When I talk about some of the things that give you the best opportunity to be successful, one of the most important things is having people around you that are going to build you up and people that are going to support you. So, I think that's really, for me, leaning on my faith and trusting in God's plan, and just, being fortunate with the type of people that he puts around me to help me accomplish the goals or overcome the adversity or deal with the downside. So just really having that true all in, trust in and believing and knowing that things are going to work out. And, we don't know why things happen. We don't know what causes bad things, that the adversity we're talking about, but trust that, we will make it through, and, and having that faith that, no matter what we think and how we think, there's a higher power that's working, that's going to really make sure everything's okay.
I love it. We do some work with our athletes, some faith work that's completely aside from wrestling, and we let our kids lead it. So it's nice to know that there's people in your position that are doing something similar. So one of the, I guess, more sensitive topics right now that's going on that we're excited to talk about the other night, and I was really interested to get your take on, is the association, that you're involved in now, and what that's leading into. So I want to just turn that over. I guess, what are you involved in, and what's the mission of it, and how's it going?
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to share. With a few weeks ago, we started an organization. I was very fortunate to be a part of the Black Wrestling Association, and it really came out of Nate Jackson and Kyvan Gadsden got together, and right after the George Floyd murder, and being two strong Black men in our society, in our sport, we're talking about, and just kind of that feeling of hopelessness of like, hey, you can do everything right, you can be a good person, you can do this, and next you could step out and something like this can happen. And it was just really an opportunity to try to build support and try to understand why things happen. And again, when you go back to what I said earlier, when you have your faith, trust that God's got a plan for you, but then you still don't understand, like, even what his plan is, you don't understand why these things happen. So out of that, Nate and Kyvan reach out to their networks and started connecting with people. And next, they're about 40 men on a call, 40 Black wrestlers or tied to wrestlers or Black men that were tied to the sport of wrestling, and got together. And really, it started off as just like a support system, where you can share and kind of hear each other and support each other. But after that call, it was evident that we needed to do more than just have a support network where you get together and talk. So Nate and Kyvan, started to branch out, and they picked a couple of guys to build the founding board, and started building there. And then structure-wise, getting our organizational structure, really focusing on how we can make a difference, getting our strategic planning, having goals, having strategic initiatives going through. So that's what it's been going on. But it's really been under the foundation of inspiring and connecting and empowering Black wrestlers and allies, to make things better, really to give young Black athletes, young Black wrestlers in particular, an opportunity to look and see and say, hey, there's somebody that looks like me, that has a similar experience like me, that I can look up to and that I can connect with. And then really looking at creating opportunities, and equality, and really being able to increase representation for the Black athletes and Black wrestlers in the sport. So it's really an advocacy, action, connection initiative. But it was more than just, hey, everybody can say, hey, we want to make a difference, we want to help, and we want to see change, but really being engaged at a higher level to make those things happen in a tangible way. So we've been at it for a couple of weeks, and we're solidifying our structure. We're starting to expand our board and get some more perspectives to really help us going. And anytime you do something and you start something new, it's always, you want to go fast to hurry up and get things done, but you have to go slow to make sure you do it the right way. And that's kind of where we are right now, is just kind of filling any holes. Obviously, like you said, if you have a bunch of men together, there's you look back and say, well, where's the diversity in that? So we've reached out to a lot of female wrestlers, and then obviously having the connection of Black wrestlers, but there's also people that are not in the Black community that also can help. So that's why we talk about our mission statement: wrestlers and allies to help grow the sport. So really looking and connecting on a meaningful way with a lot of people that can really help move the initiative forward and really celebrate the successes and the contribution of Black wrestlers in our sport.
Do you think that program will take a vested interest in really doing an outreach and say, beat the streets New York, beat the streets Chicago, beat the streets LA? I mean, there's some real avenue, and they have pretty good fund support. I know I've been to the New York City Beat the Street galas, and Emma is running it now. But yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity for people to just see what wrestling is all about, and allow them.
So again, in our mission, connecting is a part of it. So we want to connect with all those that are really looking to inspire and empower. But one of our strategic initiatives are to partner with organizations nationwide that can really increase that connection, that representation on a high level. So yeah, I mean, tying with the Beat the Streets, but there may be some organizations or not even necessarily organizations. There might be groups or people or individuals, depending on what category, that may not necessarily have a title associated with them, but they're looking for something. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for an opportunity. They look for someone that they can connect with and really take their personal or professional situation to a new level. So so there's a lot of things, and it's not a catch-all. I think that's one of the danger when you have an organization or initiative that you try to be everything to everybody, and it's tough to do that because there's so many different experiences that are out there. So we want to make sure we can empower but we want to also make sure that when we're being productive, that we actually are being efficiently productive, right? We can't go out and solve every single issue and address every single issue, because then you spread yourself too thin. So really focus on a few specific things, and then be able to continue to grow with our network. As the more connections that we have a lot more touch points, and but it's definitely about connecting and empowering. Make sure we have that inspirational piece, and it's such a great opportunity and to be part of it. And I think with our strategic plan, you look back, and in 4 years from now, you're going to look back and what our plan is to make sure that everyone looks at this organization as the premier organization moving in this space.
Well, I think that one thing that you have going for you is character, and with leadership like you, and I look straight across the wrestling spectrum. We have phenomenal African American, and not only athletes but champions that have high character, high moral conduct, and these young people will be blessed to have guys like you mentor them. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're excited. We're looking forward to it. So
yeah.
So yeah, with that, Kerry, I got a question from Jessica right now. So how can athletes get involved with the organization? Do they reach out to a founder, or do you guys know what that looks like yet?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you can go through and follow us on social media and our website, blackwrestlingassociation.com, .org, .net. Social media, individual connections. Right now, the idea is if you go in, you can kind of submit and subscribe to our newsletter or mailing list, so you can just get on the list. So that way, when we have updates coming in, obviously, if you follow the social and we're in the, as far as social media, we're kind of in that introduction stage right now. We're introducing the organization and some of the founding members, and but we're also making sure that we start raising awareness to some of the great things that are happening in the Black wrestling community. So so that's really it. So reach out through social, through the website. Obviously, you can connect individually, through email, and so whatever you need to do, just connect with one of us, and we'll get you on board. So it's not something you have to really put a whole lot of time and energy to figure out how to get connected. Just reach out, and somebody will definitely follow up. And as we get our membership structure and the opportunity to be engaged and participate in some of our initiatives, that'll all be out on the website, and then that'll hit social too. So just really, we're excited. And we, the following that's grown on social media and the number of people that have already subscribed to get connected has been pretty awesome. And once we get a really full, robust marketing plan and strategic direction with that, I think we're going to go even higher.
Right. No, for sure. So you talked about tangible ways to really reach out and grow and connect. Do you have any of that worked out yet, or is that still in the process?
Yeah, so we have goals, and I don't want to necessarily throw it out there because we haven't publicly promoted it, so to speak, but opportunities where we are going to be able to engage in a lot of initiatives. Like I said, right now I can talk about like our marketing strategy, right? Making sure that we have a connection to the public, right? So getting out there, getting our obviously social media and website, but really putting our situation where we can, you don't have to necessarily ask and say, how do I get involved? It's going to be out there, right? So that's going to be an initiative, and putting out situations where we can celebrate, having events, sponsoring events, partnering with events, putting on our own events, fundraising events, competitor events, empowerment events. One thing that I guess I can talk about that's under development is a mentorship program, and that's something that's huge, where you connect young people, old people, coaches, athletes, officials, I mean, you name it, with somebody else that can really inspire and connect you and help you. So those are some of the things. And like I said, the things that we're working on, they're not all today. We've got short-term and long-term goals, but it's definitely something that will give a lot of people opportunity to get involved and engage. And even if it's as simple as just being able to share and redistribute our social media and just get more followers and get more attention, more eyes on the organization, I think that's something that's going to do, because when you see a young African-American athlete wrestler out there that doesn't have a strong connection to their community, or doesn't think that there's a strong connection to the community, then you're like, okay, well, we've got to do something about it. So I think that's really one of the most baseline, where all these young men and women throughout every place in the country at every level can look and say, oh, now there's something that I can kind of tie to, that's for our sport, that I didn't see in a organized, proactive way in the past. So it's really about that connection and really being involved in on the most grassroots level of just following and sharing, and then the opportunities to get more actively engaged are going to come in the coming weeks.
Wow, that's well said.
That's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well spoken right there. So let's go ahead. We've got some more questions I want to get to, and I saw Terry's getting a little tired over there. I guess he did too much painting today. So
3 coats, baby. 3 coats on his garage. Crack the whip, Jody.
All right. So we got some questions for you. So Kerry, you talked about your faith a little bit. And Laura had a question here. Is if there is any curriculum that you particularly use, maybe when dealing with athletes in a faith journey, faith walk, or anything like that, or is it something that you create?
Can I jump on that one too? Because Fellowship of Christian Athletes and Athletes in Action, they both have curriculums that you can easily access, and there's probably a organization very close by to wherever you are. So I would look into that, but go ahead, guys.
I mean, I don't. I guess I think how I try to live my life, and it's not something that I guess I put out there. If athletes ask, I don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable because of my faith either. But I think they know that I'm always available to talk about it and willing to if they're of interest. And I think I'll get some lessons about my faith just being around me. But it's not something that I have laid out or carry on. We do have Athletes in Action and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Those communities are around the program closely. So that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's, like FCA is a huge resource. And, I think one of the things that a lot of people are intimidated by with, when it comes to their faith walk and how to share, how to lead. And that's one of the things, FCA as an organization has, daily devotionals that come out every day, right? So if you just do the daily devotion and, starts off with a little story that connects to athletics, and then it'll start with a Bible verse, then I have a little story, then it has a couple questions, and then I'll have some Bible verses to finish, and usually it ends with a prayer. So, just following that curriculum. For coaches, there's FCA has a coach's Bible that does the same thing, but it focuses on, in the coaching mindset. And then, for wrestling specifically, and I think they use those resources pretty strong, but FCA Wrestling, they have resources that are coming out too. So there's a lot of ways to connect and engage with that. And I think the whole idea is, don't worry if you're not a Bible scholar. Don't worry if you don't have every scripture memorized. Just open the book and you can just kind of roll with that, and it'll be a great way to lead. And then from there, you can kind of develop your own curriculum or develop your own plan. But even if you just get together once a week and read the daily, that devotional from that day, whether it's from the Coach's Bible, whether it's from the FCA Wrestling website, or whether it's from the FCA website as a whole, that's a great way to get people engaged. And that's something that you can start, and then your athletes and other people affiliated can just follow and do on their own. And so that's one thing that I felt like has been very, very helpful, when engaging, but also personally, just, instead of knowing, okay, how do I read the Bible? How do I study? What do I need to look at? Well, just pull up one of those devotionals and it gives you a great message, and you kind of roll with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's also, sorry, Frank, there's also camps. Well, not this summer probably, but there's FCA camps out there probably in your local areas. I would just look at straight up. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah. Actually, a couple of years ago, I bought a case of the FCA wrestling Bibles, and Burroughs was on the cover and everything else. And I think I only bought 10 at the time. And this is at a public high school, and we don't push too hard, but we just keep it open for anybody who wants to talk. And it was a mad dash to get the 10. And then kids started wrestling takedowns after practice to see who was going to get the 8th, 9th, and 10th Bible. You can like they sell more. So yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put that out there for them. They're asking for it, especially now going back with COVID and everything. I mean, young kids are going to be confused. They're going to be looking for structure. They're going to be looking for hope, and it's a great place to find it. So
the heavyweight walked away with 3 of them.
No, he didn't get far enough into the room to have to run to go get it. So, yeah, he was the true heavyweight staying on the edge of the mat there.
Easy.
I said heavyweight, not a freak heavyweight.
I wasn't going there, buddy. Okay, I wasn't going there. I don't know what he was thinking. So, gentlemen, it is 2 minutes to 8, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Before we close shop, though, Terry, we need a word from our sponsor, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay.
Okay. So just again to point out to everyone, this webinar was brought to you by Team Global Energy and Ambit Energy, which is the national sponsor of USA Wrestling and the national teams. And there's different ways to get involved with it. Frank, if you can put that link in the chat box, but there's different ways to get involved with it. You can get involved simply as being a customer and saving some money on your energy bill. Every time you pay your energy bill every month, a portion of that, and those proceeds go back to a national team. And then also you can get involved as a business and look to make money off of it as well, and that's if you get involved as a consultant. So you can check it out at Team Global Energy, and if you have any questions on that, you can reach out to us.
Yeah, perfect. So in the chat right now is the link. You can go, and then whatever state you're in, you can go find more information specific to that state, as far as what Terry was just talking about with our partnership and how it might be able to benefit you personally.
Awesome.
Yeah. So guys, thank you very much. Terry, as usual, great conversation. Frank, great job. But Kerry, awesome stuff today. Really, thanks for bringing it. It was a great night. Really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you come back.
Yeah, I'd love to. Appreciate you guys inviting me, and definitely keep me in the Rolodex. And if I can slide in between Gable's 300 episode commitment, if I can get in there, I'll love to be back.
All right, that's a deal, buddy. That's a deal. Okay, well, guys, yeah, thanks a bunch. Hopefully, and everybody out there will join us again next week for Thursdays with Terry. Okay. See ya. Hey, Kerry, good luck with the move.
All right, thanks. Yeah,
Thanks,
appreciate
Terry.
it.
Great job, guys. See you next week.
Yep.